trophy along with the memory of the hunt. There are several different ways they can do this. They can get a full body mount, a skull mount, a shoulder mount, and even tan the hide. A couple of these ways are very expensive and take a very long time to finish. Today I'll be telling you the process of how to skull mount a deer skull. Skull mounts are very inexpensive. They usually don't cost more than $100, and that's because the materials used to do a skull mount is very small. The first step I'm going to show you about a skull mount is the boiling process. The boiling process, you're needed a hot water heater element, a bucket, and water. So you get your skull. Imagine it has hair on it. Well, I didn't have one, so this one has hair on it, right? So I stick it down in the pot, and I let it boil for a couple hours, and I put the Cascade washing detergent, and I powder it in there, and this raises the temperature. And with temperature raised, it speeds up the process. The water starts boiling a little faster, the water gets hotter, and the meat and the hair and the hide gets softer. So say 2 to 4 hours goes by is when I usually check. I pull it out of here, lay it on the table, and I get a knife. And I start cutting. I cut off all the hide, the ears, the eyes, and the tongue. So now what's left is the meat. I stick it back in here for around another 2 to 4 hours, and I check periodically, make sure the water levels are fine, and sometimes I have to pour more water in it, and I pick it up, and I look at it. And once I can tell that the meat's starting to kind of fall off the bone, it's getting real tender and kind of gross looking, is the next step. Next step is the cleaning process, which this step I use a pressure washer. So the bucket is no longer needed, but actually, I'm wrong, the bucket is still needed. So I lay the deer head on the floor, and I grab a pressure washer. And I pressure wash it, pressure wash it, pressure wash it. Well, after I get all the meat I can get off of it, then again, I put it in the boiler. So I do this process back and forth 4 to 5 times until finally the deer skull is clean. It has no more meat on it. You can see the bone, it's real white. The brains are out of it, the eyes, the tongue, the sinuses, that's really hard part to get out of it. All of it's clean. So the next step is step 3, and that's the bleaching process. So I put it on the table. I grab 2 bleaching agents that I use. They're both used for bleaching women's hair. This is a liquid form, and this is a powder. I get these, and I mix them together, and I get a paintbrush. I mix them together, and I grab my deer head, and I just paint. I paint every crack and crevice all over the deer skull, inside the nose, inside the eyes, everything, back of the head. Then I let it sit for at least 24 hours in the sun. After this process is up, I get my deer head and I wash it off with the water hose, and it looks like the finished product. This right here. Real white, real clean looking, and pretty. There are several different ways that I finish a deer skull, and I do the regular bleaching, which makes it white. Then I can hydro dip them, which this is kind of harder and it takes more time and patience because you can't really mess up, because you mess up, it's ruined. And then I've also done this one, which I got a blowtorch and I burned bone, and it gave me this cool, unique look. And that's the steps I take to skull mount a deer skull. Thank you for watching and learning about the process of skull mounts. Maybe with a little help from YouTube in this video, you can do it yourself. Done. Amen.